Well, good morning, everyone. We are here live for another open book broadcast where we talk about anything and everything to do with writing and publishing and all the things in between because we're an open book about it. I'm your host, Allie, the badass boss of The Right Place, Right Time, my virtual boutique writing agency for badass and brilliant women who are braving the blank page and writing their books that will change the effing world. I'm a writer, writing guide, ghostwriter, and girlfriend all rolled into one. And I'm here today to talk about making your book not a daily slog. As you can hear, I forgot to put the cat away. So she's going to be with us live this morning, and I apologize for the background noise. So today's topic, writing your book doesn't have to be a daily slog. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's the thing. A lot of people will come to me and they'll say, I don't know how to get this book written. I have the idea or I have an outline, but I just don't have huge blocks of time every single day to devote to writing this book. And this always makes me giggle a little bit because I used to be one of these people. I used to think that I had to spend a couple of hours every single day in order to get a book done, a book drafted, right? And I was like, I'm never going to have that. Never going to have that, right? And I realized that I was basing that idea that I needed to have these huge blocks of time and I needed to be committed to it every single day based on all of the famous old writers that you hear about who got up at 4 or 5 a.m. and they were dedicated to writing X number of words every single day in order to get their books finished or whatever. The thing is that that's not very realistic for most of us. Our schedules are hectic, right? The things that life today kind of requires of us are very different. Like what's societally, put on us as things that we should be doing has changed a lot. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're a woman and you are, taking care of people, you're taking care of the house, like you're still in a lot of the roles that unfortunately are still on women's shoulders as caretakers and people who take care of the household. And then, we're also working, we're trying to do all of the things. It's even less likely that we're going to have huge blocks of time every single day to be devoting to a book. And for those of us who are working those 9 to 5s, or maybe in positions of leadership that require more hours, or in certain industries where our schedules are not regular hours, or we're running our own businesses and wearing multiple hats and are completely spent by the end of the day from being the administrator and the marketer and the salesperson and the whatever. Those blocks of time that you have are going to continually shrink, right? So when we think about having to put that kind of time aside, writing a book feels overwhelming. It feels unattainable. It feels stressful. It feels like a freaking slog, right? So to me, like, this is a myth. It's a myth that we need to have these huge blocks of time in order to actually get a book written. So here's something that I know. Fact, large blocks of time are stressful and hard to prioritize, as I've already kind of mentioned, but small blocks are actually easier to put into your day and also kind of hold to. Because when you think about the number of tasks that you have to accomplish, you're not going to find the big blocks among that hectic schedule, but you might find 15 minutes or 30 minutes pretty routinely if you're looking at your schedule and really understanding where do you need to be and when, and where do you have the opportunity to sit down and actually crank out a few words. And I'm not saying polished words by any means. You're not going to get polished words in a short amount of time. But you can get words down. And as far as I'm concerned, the first draft is always the messy one anyway. That's the point of it being a draft. And so you need to just keep going, get the words on the page, and you can revise and polish later. Another fact is that if you're not writing every day, it doesn't actually make you ineffective. It can be helpful, right? We all need breaks and we all need time to reset, rest, reflect, think, make a plan, right? Let's think about exercise, for example. Sometimes we need to take some days off to rest our body, or we need to change the muscle groups that we're focusing on before we hit the weights again in order to actually strengthen our whole self, right? Our physical self. And writing is very similar. You strengthen it with steady, intentional practice, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the days that you're not writing are useless. I think about like the days in between I'm writing chapters or something. And in the back of my mind, subconsciously, I'm still processing through parts of the book, maybe thinking about it, meditating on it, even when maybe I'm not aware. And when I come back to it the next time, I've got new energy, new juice, new ideas to kind of push onto the page because I let my brain take a break, right? Another fact, you can complete your book in a way that serves you, right? Your life, your schedule. So this, these people who we've heard about that have like the daily word count amount, or they always get up at 5. Okay, great. Those are examples. Those people figure that out for themselves. It works for them. Awesome. Congratulations, right? You don't need to try to pigeonhole yourself into approaching your book in the way that these people approached it just because it worked for them. We are all individuals. We are all unique in the way that we work, the way that we think, the way that we process. So we need to find our own ways that are going to work with our life and our schedule. We're not all early risers. We're not all, night owls. We're not all people who can just sit down and bang things out. Like we might be people who need to go for a walk first. We might need people who like to work within noise, and other people might like to work with complete silence, right? We need to understand, how are we best productive? When do we have the blocks of time in our schedule to actually devote to, our practice and to writing this book? So we don't need to do it the way that everybody else says that they did it. We can try those things, of course, right? They're examples or ideas, but ultimately there is no right way to write a book. We've got to figure out what's going to work for us. So I want you to hear me when I say that you're not failing at writing your book because you don't have huge blocks of time and you're not writing every single day. And you also don't need to make it about that and have your book be completely lacking joy when you're working on it by trying to get yourself to be writing every single day when that's not realistic. It's like you're always trying to attain the thing that's not attainable, like perfectionism, for instance. This is about developing a practice that works for you and your life and your reality, and also works for whatever deadline that exists when it comes to writing your book. And a lot of the people I work with don't have hard deadlines. It's something that they have on their bucket list. It's something that they're hoping to do. That kind of thing. So it's okay if you need to take a moment to figure out what it is that you're doing. Take a moment to figure out, right? When does the book actually need to be done by? Is this a self-imposed deadline, or is there an actual deadline? And then use that as a way to figure out, okay, what needs to happen, right? Begin with the end in mind is something that you might have heard before. Now, if you want to approach your book in a way that serves your life and your schedule and makes you feel like a success, then I'm inviting you to join me for my next Writer's Block Party, which is tomorrow, June 22nd at noon, EST. There's still time to join. There's still space left. The link to register is in the comments. And there's still time and space for you to come and be with me and to talk about how to get your book done in a way that makes you feel more joyful, more aligned, more successful. All right. I want to help you make the next best step for you to actually get your book done, have a personalized approach to take intentional and aligned action, right? In a way that works for you. I want you to let go of this myth that you need huge amounts of time, or that writing a book isn't going to be joyful, or it's unattainable because you have to work on it every day. All right. The one thing that I want to challenge you to really consider is whether or not this issue around time is really about time itself, or if it's more of an issue of you needing to recognize that your book can be a priority in your life. And by it being a priority in your life, you have permission to show up for it in the way that you prioritize and show up for the other things that you've told yourself are worth prioritizing and worth showing up for. Because sometimes what I find underneath this whole kind of question about whether or not people have enough time to write their book really comes down to whether or not they're making the decision and the choice to write their book over, for instance, the Netflix TV show, or the dishes, or folding the laundry, or the 3 other free workshops or networking events or whatever that they decided to go to, right? It's all about making choices and figuring out where our commitments are going to be. And part of the issue around time blocking for people is really more a mindset thing about whether or not they are allocating a level of priority to the book that they're working on. So I'm going to challenge you to be thinking about that. So that's a wrap for today's open book broadcast. I hope to see you at the Writer's Block Party. Remember to come and check me out at therightplacerightTime.com, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I would be happy to have new connections and followers over there. Bye for now.